I was standing in the doorway of our son's bedroom when I heard the floorboards creak behind me. It was just past midnight. I turned and saw my wife, Rachel, frozen halfway down the hall. Her hand was still on the wall. She looked at me like I'd caught her stealing. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me with this strange expression, half guilt, half defiance. Then she said, "I was checking on him." I looked back into the room. Our son, Ethan, was 15. He was asleep with his headphones still on. The blue light from his phone glowed under the blanket. "You were checking on him at midnight?" I said. "He's been distant," she said. "I'm worried." I didn't argue. I just stood there until she turned around and went back to our bedroom. But something felt wrong. I couldn't name it yet. But it was there. That was the first time I noticed. It wouldn't be the last. When Ethan was younger, Rachel was the kind of mother who made Pinterest-worthy birthday parties and volunteered at every school event. She was involved. Maybe too involved. But I figured that was just how she showed love. I worked long hours as an engineer, so I was grateful she held things down at home. But something shifted when Ethan hit puberty. He started pulling away, like most teenagers do. He stopped wanting to talk to us at dinner. He stayed in his room more. He got quieter. Rachel didn't handle it well. She took it personally. She'd get upset when he didn't want to go on family outings. She'd accuse him of being ungrateful. I tried to tell her it was normal. I told her to give him space, but she said I didn't understand. She said I wasn't there enough to see how much he'd changed. Maybe she was right. I was at work a lot. I trusted her to manage things at home. I thought that's what we'd agreed on. Rachel was standing just inside the doorway. She was looking at him, just standing there, watching him sleep. I didn't say anything. I just went back to bed. But I couldn't fall asleep. I kept thinking about the way she'd been standing there, so still, so focused. The next morning I asked her about it. "You were in Ethan's room last night," I said. She was pouring coffee. She didn't look at me. "I told you. I'm worried about him." "Rachel, he's fine. He's just a teenager." "You don't know that." "I do know that. And standing in his room at 1 in the morning isn't helping anyone." She slammed the coffee pot down. "You think I'm crazy." "I didn't say that." "You don't have to." She grabbed her mug and walked out. I didn't push it. I figured she was stressed. Maybe she was going through something. I didn't want to make it worse. So I let it go, but I started paying closer attention. "What do you think he's hiding?" She didn't answer. I also noticed she'd been going into his room when he wasn't home. I came back from the grocery store one Saturday and found her sitting on his bed, going through his desk drawers. She said she was looking for something. She didn't say what. Ethan noticed too. He started locking his door. He stopped leaving his phone anywhere she could reach it. He barely spoke to her at dinner. When she asked him questions, he'd give one-word answers. I could see the frustration building in her. She'd snap at him for small things, not putting his dishes away, leaving his shoes in the hallway. He'd just walk away. She'd sit there, fuming. I tried to talk to her. I told her she was pushing him further away. She told me I didn't understand. She said something was wrong with him. She said she could feel it. I asked her what she meant. She just shook her head and said I wouldn't believe her anyway. But I also couldn't ignore what he was telling me. So I went online and ordered a small security camera. It was one of those discreet ones that looks like a smoke detector. I installed it in the corner of Ethan's room, angled toward the door. I didn't tell Rachel, I didn't tell Ethan, I just set it up and waited. The first 2 nights, nothing happened. Rachel stayed in bed. I started to feel guilty. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Ethan was exaggerating. But on the 3rd night at 12:47 a.m., the motion sensor triggered. I got the alert on my phone. I opened the app and watched the live feed. Rachel was standing in the doorway of Ethan's room. She was just standing there, staring at him. She didn't move for almost 2 minutes. Then she stepped inside. She walked over to his bed and stood next to him. She just stood there, looking down at him while he slept. I felt my stomach turn. I wanted to get up and confront her, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I was in shock. Maybe I wanted to see what else she'd do. After a few minutes, she turned and left. I heard her footsteps in the hallway. Then the bedroom door opened and she slipped back into bed next to me. She didn't say anything. She just lay there like nothing had happened. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I checked the footage. I went back through the previous week. The camera had been recording the whole time, even before the motion alerts. I scrubbed through the recordings. She'd been in his room almost every night. Sometimes she'd just stand there. Other times she'd walk around. Once she sat on the edge of his bed for almost 10 minutes just watching him. Another time she picked up his phone from the nightstand and went through it while he was asleep. She put it back exactly where it had been. I felt sick. I didn't know what to do. I thought about confronting her, but I didn't know what I'd even say. I thought about talking to a therapist, but I didn't want to betray her like that. I thought about talking to Ethan, but I didn't want to scare him. So I just kept watching. I kept recording. I told myself I needed more information before I did anything. Ethan looked at me. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there. "Can I go to my room?" he asked. "No," Rachel said. "I want to talk to you." "About what?" "About where you've really been." "I told you. I was at Jake's." "I don't believe you." Ethan's face went red. "Why would I lie?" "I don't know. You tell me." He looked at me again. I finally stood up. "Rachel, he said he was at Jake's. Let's just drop it." She turned on me. "You always take his side." "I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just saying, you don't see it," she said. Her voice was shaking. "You don't see what's happening. He's hiding something. I know it." Ethan didn't say anything. He just turned and went upstairs. I heard his door slam. Rachel sat down on the couch and put her head in her hands. I thought she was going to cry, but she didn't. She just sat there. I went upstairs to check on Ethan. He was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. "She's losing it," he said. I didn't know what to say, so I just told him I'd talk to her. I told him everything would be okay. I don't know if he believed me. I don't know if I believed me. This time, she didn't just stand there. She walked over to his bed. She crouched down next to him. She reached out and touched his hair. She ran her fingers through it, slowly, like she was comforting a child. But he wasn't a child. He was 15, and he was asleep. I felt something break inside me. I don't know what it was. Anger, maybe. Or fear. Or just the realization that I couldn't ignore this anymore. She stayed there for almost 5 minutes. Then she stood up, walked out, and came back to bed. I didn't say anything. I just lay there, pretending to be asleep. They said I should also consider talking to a child psychologist about Ethan. I didn't tell Rachel I'd made the call. I didn't know how to bring it up. I knew she'd deny it. She'd say I was exaggerating. She'd say I didn't understand. So I waited. I kept recording, I kept watching. And I started preparing. I copied all the footage onto a hard drive. I documented every instance. I made notes of the times, the behaviors, the things she said. I didn't know what I was preparing for exactly. But I knew I needed evidence. I knew I couldn't let this keep happening. Ethan wasn't home yet. He had soccer practice. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped. She turned around, and for a second she looked guilty. Then her face hardened. "I'm looking for something," she said. "For what?" "I don't know yet." "Rachel, you have to stop this." "Stop what?" "This. Going through his things. Going into his room at night. All of it." She stared at me. "You've been watching me." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. "You put a camera in his room," she said. "I had to." "You had to?" She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You're spying on me." "I'm protecting him." "From what? From me?" "Yes." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. Then her expression changed. It went cold. "You don't understand," she said. There's something wrong with him, I can feel it. He's not the same. He's a teenager. He's growing up. No, it's more than that. Rachel, you need help. I don't need help. I need you to believe me. I can't. She walked past me without another word. I heard her go downstairs. I heard the front door open and close. Then I heard her car start. She was gone. I didn't tell him the truth. I didn't know how. Around 9 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. It was Rachel. I'm staying at a hotel, she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Rachel, come home. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. You've already made up your mind. That's not true. You think I'm crazy. I think you need help. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm not coming back until you see it too. See what? What he's hiding. She hung up. They said someone had filed a report with Child Protective Services. They said it was about Ethan. I felt my blood go cold. I drove to the school. The social worker was waiting in the principal's office. She introduced herself as Ms. Delgado. She was polite, but serious. She asked me to sit down. Mr. Harper, she said, we received a report that your son may be in an unsafe environment. From who? I can't disclose that, but the report included some concerning allegations. What kind of allegations? She glanced at her notes. The report claims that Ethan has been exhibiting signs of distress, that he's being isolated, that there may be inappropriate supervision in the home. I couldn't breathe. I knew exactly who had filed the report. This is my wife, I said. She's not well. She's been acting erratically. She's been going into our son's room at night. I have footage. I can show you. Ms. Delgado's expression didn't change. We'll need to investigate the claims. That includes speaking with Ethan, and with you, and with your wife, if possible. She's not here. She left. Do you know where she is? No. Ms. Delgado made a note. Then she asked if she could speak with Ethan. I said yes. I didn't have a choice. I tried to give him a reassuring look, but I don't think it helped. Ms. Delgado asked him questions. She asked if he felt safe at home. She asked if anyone had hurt him. She asked if his mother had been acting strangely. Ethan answered honestly. He told her about Rachel coming into his room. He told her about the phone checking. He told her he'd started locking his door because he didn't feel comfortable. Ms. Delgado listened. She took notes. She didn't react. When she was done, she thanked him and asked him to wait outside. Then she turned to me. Mr. Harper, I'm going to be direct with you. Based on what I've heard today, I don't believe Ethan is in immediate danger. But I do think there are some concerning dynamics in your home. I'm going to recommend that you and your wife attend counseling. I'm also going to recommend a follow-up visit in 2 weeks. What does that mean? It means we'll check in again. If the situation hasn't improved, we may need to take further steps. I nodded. I didn't know what else to do. I did what I had to do. He needs help. You'll see. I stared at the message. I read it 3 times. Then I called her. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I thought about calling the police. I thought about calling a lawyer. But I didn't know what good it would do. She hadn't technically done anything illegal. She was his mother. She'd filed a report out of concern, even if that concern was misplaced. But I knew I couldn't let this continue. I spent the next few days gathering everything I had. The camera footage, the texts, the notes. I made copies of everything. I put them in a folder. I didn't know what I'd need them for yet, but I wanted to be ready. On Sunday, Rachel finally called. She asked if she could come home. I told her she could, but only if she agreed to see a therapist. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, okay. She came back that afternoon. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red. She didn't say much. She just went upstairs and lay down. I didn't push her. I figured we'd talk when she was ready. She said she just needed time. I didn't believe her, but I didn't know what else to do. Then, on Wednesday night, I got another alert from the camera. It was just after midnight. I opened the app. Rachel was in Ethan's room again, but this time, she wasn't just standing there. She was sitting on the floor next to his bed. She had her knees pulled up to her chest. She was rocking back and forth, slowly. She was whispering something. I couldn't hear what. I got out of bed and went to Ethan's room. When I opened the door, she looked up at me. Her face was wet with tears. "Rachel," I said quietly. She didn't answer. She just looked at me. Then she looked at Ethan, then back at me. "I lost him," she said. "What?" "I lost him. He's not my little boy anymore." I didn't know what to say. I crouched down next to her. "Rachel, he's right here. He's fine." "No," she said. "He's not. He's different. He doesn't need me anymore." "That's not true." "It is." She wiped her face. "I used to be everything to him, and now I'm nothing." I reached out and touched her arm. "You're not nothing. He loves you. He's just growing up." She pulled away from me. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." She shook her head. She stood up and walked out of the room without another word. I sat there on the floor for a while, trying to process what I'd just seen. I sat Rachel down that afternoon. I told her I was worried. I told her I thought she needed to talk to someone. She didn't argue. She just nodded. She said she'd go. We made an appointment for the following Monday. I checked Ethan's room. The door was locked. I knocked. He opened it after a few seconds. He looked scared. "Where's Mom?" he asked. "I don't know." I tried calling her. No answer. I tried texting. Nothing. I started to panic. I didn't know where she'd gone. I didn't know what she was planning. Around noon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Is this Mr. Harper?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes. This is Officer Brennan with the police department. Your wife is here at the station. She came in this morning and filed a report. She's claiming that your son is being abused. She's asking us to remove him from the home." I felt the room spin. "That's not true," I said. "She's not well. She's been having a breakdown. I have evidence. I have footage. We'd like you to come down to the station so we can sort this out." I told Ethan to stay home. I told him to lock the doors. Then I drove to the police station. I told them everything. I told them about Rachel's behavior. I told them about the camera. I pulled out my phone and showed them the footage. I showed them the nights she'd been in Ethan's room. I showed them the text messages. I showed them everything. Officer Brennan watched the footage. Her expression didn't change, but I could see something shift in her eyes. When I finished, she looked at Rachel. "Mrs. Harper, can you explain this?" Rachel didn't answer right away. She just stared at the table. Then she said, "I was checking on him. I was worried." "At midnight? Multiple nights in a row?" "I'm his mother." "Mrs. Harper, do you understand how this looks?" Rachel finally looked up. Her eyes were red. "I just wanted to protect him." "From what?" "I don't know." Her voice cracked. "I don't know." Officer Brennan glanced at me. Then she said, "Mrs. Harper, I think you need to speak with someone. We're going to recommend a psychiatric evaluation." Rachel didn't argue. She just nodded. She looked so small in that moment. So defeated. They let me take her home. But they said someone from CPS would be following up. They said if Rachel's behavior didn't improve, they might need to take action. He looked at Rachel, then at me. He didn't say anything. Rachel went straight upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. Ethan looked at me. "What's going to happen?" "I don't know," I said. "But it's going to be okay." I didn't know if that was true, but I said it anyway. She asked about her relationship with Ethan. She asked about the night visits. Rachel answered honestly. She said she didn't know why she did it. She said she just felt this overwhelming need to be close to him. She said she felt like she was losing him. She said she couldn't control it. The psychologist diagnosed her with obsessive-compulsive disorder and severe anxiety. possibly triggered by Ethan's transition into adolescence. She said Rachel had developed an unhealthy attachment. She said it wasn't Rachel's fault, but it did need treatment. Rachel started therapy the following week. She also started medication. The psychiatrist said it would take time, but there was hope. She's learning to let go. Ethan is doing better too. He's talking to us more. He's not as guarded. He's starting to trust again. As for me, I'm still processing everything. I still have the camera in Ethan's room, but I don't check it anymore. I don't think I need to. CPS closed the case last month. They said the situation had stabilized. They said we were doing the right things. I don't know if our family will ever be the same. I don't know if Rachel and Ethan will ever have the relationship they used to. But we're trying. We're all trying. And for now, that's enough. Rachel moved into the guest room. She said she needed space to work on herself, and honestly, I think we all needed space from each other. The house felt different, quieter, like we were all walking on eggshells, waiting for something else to break. Ethan stopped locking his door, but he still kept it closed most of the time. I'd hear him on the phone with his friends sometimes, laughing, and it would remind me of how things used to be, before everything got complicated, before I had to choose between protecting him and protecting his mother. I kept going to work, but I wasn't really there. My mind was always somewhere else. I'd be in a meeting and suddenly I'd think about Rachel sitting on the floor of Ethan's room, rocking back and forth. Or I'd remember the look on Ethan's face when the social worker pulled him out of class. I couldn't shake it. My boss noticed. He pulled me aside one afternoon and asked if everything was okay at home. I told him we were dealing with some family stuff. He didn't push, but he suggested I take some time off. I told him I'd think about it. I didn't take time off. I needed work. I needed something normal to hold on to. Other times she'd just go straight to the guest room and close the door. I tried not to take it personally. The therapist had told me that Rachel needed to process things on her own timeline. She said my job was to be supportive, but not to push. One night, about a month into treatment, Rachel came downstairs while I was making dinner. She stood in the doorway of the kitchen watching me. I didn't notice her at first. When I finally looked up, she was crying. "I'm sorry," she said. I put down the knife I was using to chop vegetables. "Rachel, no, let me say this." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I'm sorry for what I put you through. What I put Ethan through. I didn't realize. I didn't see what I was doing." I walked over to her. I wanted to hug her, but I wasn't sure if she'd want that. So I just stood there. "I know you were trying to help," I said. "I know you were scared." "I was terrified," she said. "I kept feeling like I was losing him, like he was slipping away and I couldn't do anything to stop it. And instead of just letting him grow up, I tried to hold on tighter. I tried to control it." "You were hurting," I said. "People do irrational things when they're hurting." She looked at me. "Do you think he'll ever forgive me?" I didn't know how to answer that, so I just said, "I think he needs time." She nodded. Then she turned and went back upstairs. He'd roll his eyes when I mentioned Rachel. He'd stay out later than usual, even on school nights. I didn't blame him. He had every right to be angry. His mother had violated his privacy. She'd made him feel unsafe in his own home. And then she'd tried to convince everyone that he was the problem. But I also knew that anger wasn't going to help anyone. So I tried to talk to him. One Saturday afternoon, I asked if he wanted to go for a drive. He looked suspicious, but he agreed. We drove out to this overlook about 20 minutes from our house. It's a spot I used to take him when he was younger, back when we'd go on father-son adventures. We hadn't been there in years. We sat on the hood of the car and looked out at the valley below. For a while, neither of us said anything. Then Ethan said, "Why did she do it?" I took a breath. She was scared. She's been dealing with some mental health stuff, anxiety, obsessive thoughts. She wasn't thinking clearly. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. But it's an explanation. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Do you think she's going to get better?" "I think she's trying," I said. "But it's going to take time. I don't know if I can forgive her." "You don't have to. Not right now, anyway. He looked at me. Do you forgive her? I thought about it. Did I? I didn't know. I was still angry. I was still hurt. But I also knew that Rachel was sick, and I knew that holding on to anger wasn't going to fix anything. I'm working on it, I said. Ethan nodded. He didn't say anything else, but I think he understood. She asked if Rachel was still living in the home. I told her yes, but in a separate room. I told her about the therapy. I told her about the medication. I showed her the documentation from Rachel's psychiatrist. Ms. Delgado seemed satisfied. She said it looked like we were taking the situation seriously. She said as long as things continued to improve, they wouldn't need to intervene further. Before she left, she pulled me aside. Mr. Harper, I want to commend you for how you've handled this. A lot of parents in your position would have tried to sweep it under the rug. You didn't. You protected your son. That takes courage. I didn't feel courageous. I felt exhausted. But I thanked her anyway. At dinner, which we still tried to have together a few times a week, they'd sit in silence. I'd try to fill the space with small talk, but it felt forced. Rachel's therapist suggested family therapy. She said it might help if we all sat down together with a mediator. I was hesitant. I didn't know if Ethan was ready, but when I asked him, he surprised me. He said he'd try it. The first session was awkward. We sat in a circle, me, Rachel, Ethan, and the therapist, Dr. Nguyen. She asked us each to share how we were feeling. Rachel went first. She apologized again. She said she knew she'd hurt Ethan. She said she was working on herself and she hoped that one day he'd be able to trust her again. Ethan didn't say anything at first, he just stared at the floor. Then, after a long silence, he said, "You made me feel like I was crazy, like I was the problem." Rachel's face crumpled. "I know. I'm so sorry. You went through my stuff. You watched me while I slept. You called CPS on Dad, like he was the one hurting me. Do you know how messed up that is?" "I do," Rachel said. Her voice was shaking. "I do know, and I hate myself for it." "I don't want you to hate yourself," Ethan said. "I just want you to leave me alone." Dr. Nguyen stepped in. She said it was okay for Ethan to feel that way. She said healing would take time. She said the goal wasn't to force forgiveness, but to create a space where everyone felt heard. By the end of the session, nothing was resolved, but at least it was a start. She started respecting his boundaries in a way she hadn't before, and Ethan, little by little, started to soften. He'd ask her to pass the salt at dinner. He'd tell her about something that happened at school. Small things, but they mattered. One night, about 3 months after everything had started, I came home from work and found them in the kitchen together. Rachel was teaching Ethan how to make her grandmother's lasagna recipe. They weren't talking much, but they were working side by side. When they saw me, they both smiled. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like before, but it was something. She was trying to hold on to him. She just didn't know how to do it in a healthy way. But understanding doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't undo the damage. And I know that Ethan will carry this with him for a long time. Maybe forever. All I can do is be here. For both of them. And hope that eventually we'll find our way back to something that feels like family again. For now, we're taking it one day at a time. And that's enough.